We often measure a man's life by the height of his achievements, by the concrete towers he builds, or the wealth he leaves behind. But the universe doesn't count in gold. It counts in endurance. Every soul is a thread woven into the fabric of time, some spun from silk and others forged in fire. We are told that greatness is a gift given only to the chosen few, born under perfect stars. But they are wrong. True greatness is not inherited. It is earned in the darkest corners of the world, where hope is nothing but a luxury. They say the stars hide themselves on the night a difficult soul is born. In a forgotten village where the soil was dry and the winter was unforgiving, a child entered the world. He had no lineage, no inheritance, and no promises of tomorrow. He was born with nothing but a pair of bright, observant eyes and a heart that beat to the rhythm of the howling wind. In the grand tapestry of human existence, his spark was invisible. But destiny, as silent as it is, has a habit of watching the ones the world ignores. By the age of 6, Leo knew the language of lack. He wore clothes mended by his mother's tired hands and walked barefoot on paths of jagged stone. Yet poverty could not conquer his mind. While others looked at the dust beneath their feet, Leo looked at the horizon. With a broken lens and a cardboard tube, he built a window to another world. He watched the distant trains carrying shadows to places he could only imagine, promising himself that one day he would not just watch the world pass by, he would ride it. Knowledge became his sanctuary. In a small, dimly lit attic away from the harsh realities of his world, Leo gathered abandoned books like precious gems. He read about ancient emperors, mathematical truths, and distant constellations. Under the flickering light of a single candle, the cold walls of his reality dissolved. He realized that while his body was trapped in a cycle of poverty, his mind was entirely free. He was training himself, forging an armor of intellect for a battle he knew was coming. But peace is often a luxury the poor cannot afford. The year he turned 12, the drought broke the village and destiny broke his home. With nothing but a small backpack filled with his tattered books and his mother's blessings, Leo had to leave. As he took his first steps down the dusty road away from everything he had ever known, he did not look back. He understood that the boy he was yesterday had to die so the man he was meant to become could survive. The journey into the unknown had officially begun. The city did not welcome him. It merely tolerated his existence. To a boy from the dust, the metropolis was a beast of steel and concrete, breathing smoke and roaring with the sound of endless engines. He was a ghost among millions, a tiny drop in an unforgiving ocean. The bright lights that promised dreams to many only cast long, cold shadows over Leo. Here, nobody cared about his past, and nobody asked about his hunger. He quickly learned that in the jungle of concrete, you either adapt or you vanish. Survival demanded a heavy price. By the age of 16, Leo's hands were no longer just holding books. They were covered in calluses and dirt. He sold his strength to construction sites, carrying the weight of buildings he would never own, under the scorching sun and freezing rain. His bones ached, and his youth was spent in exchange for a few coins and a piece of stale bread. But while the labor bent his spine, it could not bend his will. Every heavy step he took in the mud was a step away from his past. He wasn't just building structures of concrete. He was forging a temple of pure resilience within himself. When the city slept, Leo's true day began. While his co-workers drowned their exhaustion in cheap alcohol, Leo returned to his tiny rented room and opened his real battlefield, his books. Under the flicker of a dying light bulb, he taught himself the language of the future. He mastered numbers, complex logic, and the digital systems that govern the modern world. His body was exhausted from the day's labor, but his mind was alive, burning with a quiet, dangerous ambition. He knew that physical strength had a limit, but an educated mind was a weapon of infinite power. Yet, the path of self-creation is a lonely one. There were nights when the silence of the city felt like a heavy suffocation. Standing on the bridges of the metropolis, watching the world rush past in streaks of neon light, the ghost of doubt would whisper in his ear, "Why do you fight? You are just a boy from the dust. You will never belong here." But Leo had already crossed the point of no return. He realized that the hardest battle was not against the world's cruelty, but against his own fear. He closed his eyes, let the cold wind wash over him, and chose to believe in his silent preparation. Every master was once a beginner, and every empire begins with a single invisible brick. At 20, while the physical world still treated him as a laborer, Leo unlocked a hidden doorway in the digital realm. Years of midnight studying finally crystallized into a single moment of genius. He created a system, a mathematical bridge that connected complex financial data with automated logic. As the final line of code executed successfully, reflecting a golden light in his eyes, Leo smiled. The boy who once carried concrete on his back had just built a digital leverage that no wall could contain. With his first earnings, Leo did not buy luxury. He bought space. Space to think, space to build. He rented a small office on the upper floors of the city, a place he called his citadel. For the first time in his life, he was no longer looking up at the skyscrapers from the muddy streets. He was looking at the world from above. The calluses on his hands remained, but they were now a badge of honor, a constant reminder of the price he paid for his seat at the table. He was no longer running away from poverty. He was actively architecting his freedom. The internet knows no borders, and code recognizes no social class. From his small office, Leo's intellect traveled across oceans. He bypassed the traditional gatekeepers of the financial elite by offering bulletproof digital solutions to international peers and global networks. To the recruiters and partners on the other side of the world, he was not a boy from a withered village. He was a rare mind, a digital alchemist who could transform chaotic data into pure order. His brand was built not on a family name, but on flawless execution. He realized that true power was not about having the most money, but having the highest control. Leo built a digital fortress, a real-time matrix of checkpoints and monitoring systems that could predict market risks and automate internal control. What took traditional corporations weeks of paperwork, Leo's algorithm solved in a fraction of a second. He had successfully turned his painful past of chaos and unpredictable drought into a structured universe of absolute precision. He had tamed the storm. Success in the digital realm eventually forces a confrontation with the physical masters of old money. At 25, Leo was invited into the high sanctuaries of traditional finance. They wanted his algorithms, his data checkpoints, and his brilliance, but they wanted it on their terms. They saw him as an anomaly, a boy from the dust who got lucky. In that room, beneath the crystal chandeliers, Leo realized that the corporate jungle was far more treacherous than the mud of the construction sites. Here, people didn't break your back with labor. They broke your soul with a pen and a smile. Trust is a fragile currency, and in the world of high finance, it is often counterfeit. The corporate wolves did what they do best. They copied his structures, locked his access, and broke their promises. In a single day, the empire Leo had built from his cramped rented room was taken from him. Standing in the darkness of his compromised office, the familiar coldness of his childhood returned. The city had struck him down again, but they made a fatal mistake. They stole his code, but they couldn't steal the mind that created it. Instead of fighting a rigged game, Leo decided to change the board entirely. He looked deeper into the architecture of money itself. He discovered a system that no central power could modify, no corrupt politician could inflate, and no corporate elite could steal. A sound money built on mathematical, immutable truth. He shifted his entire conviction into this decentralized network. He realized that true wealth was not about possessing the fiat coins of the old world, but about holding a truth that was decentralized, unchangeable, and absolutely sovereign. He built his new castle not on the shifting sands of corporate favors, but on the solid bedrock of cryptography. Leo automated his systems, creating an independent network that operated globally 24 hours a day without a middleman. Every risk was managed, every data stream was clean, and every asset was secured by his own private keys. The wolves of the city could no longer touch him. He had achieved what the system feared most: absolute financial sovereignty. He belonged to no one, and his mind was finally home. True wealth changes a man's location, but a true soul never forgets its origin. At 30, holding the kind of success most only dream of, Leo felt a quiet pull from the past. The city had given him power, but it could never give him peace. He packed his things, turned his back on the neon lights, and drove down the same dusty road he had walked with a broken backpack 18 years ago. The air grew cleaner, the sky grew wider, and the noise of the world finally began to fade. He did not return to brag, he returned to rebuild. Leo used his resources to transform the village that once knew nothing but drought. He built modern schools powered by the sun, set up digital learning centers, and connected the youth of the dust directly to the global network. He handed them the same weapon that saved his life: knowledge. As he watched a young child look through a screen with the same bright, curious eyes he once had, Leo knew his journey had come full circle. He had broken the cycle of poverty not just for himself, but for generations to come. In the end, the greatest asset Leo ever acquired was not measured in numbers, code, or gold. It was a simple, priceless gift: peace of mind. He realized that the boy who once survived the storm had finally conquered it. Standing on the peaks of his destiny, beneath a sky of infinite stars, he took a deep breath of the cold mountain air. He had no more battles to fight, no more people to prove himself to, and no more fears of tomorrow. His wealth was secure, his physical health was strong, and his soul was quiet. He had started with nothing but dust, and he had turned it into a universe of pure freedom.